I'll just wait a little bit longer just to let some more people join. Okay, so let's get started. So welcome everyone. This is the February 16th, 2022, the AMA from the delivery team about GitLab releases and deployments. So we do have a few questions. So Elena, thank you so much for putting in our first question. Do you want to verbalize?
Yeah, I'm hopefully in the right place. I'm Milana. I'm the Senior Product Manager for the Monitor Respond group. And we just created a new category called continuous verification. So that's monitoring what's happening before and after deployments. And I'm hoping this is the right place, but I'm looking for 2 to 3 people to interview internally, kind of about what the process is today that GitLab is using.
Fantastic. Yeah, you're absolutely in the right place.
Perfect.
I am very happy to volunteer. If anyone else in delivery also wants to, right, feel free. I'm sure we'll all have different perspectives and different things. I would also suggest that the engineers on call from reliability, they also have some interesting perspective because they are perhaps, so in delivery, I think we're the people who we kind of control the timing of the deployment. So we're the ones who kind of are able to, we have checks and things like, is this a good time? Is it healthy? And do we deploy now? But the engineer on call kind of comes at it from the other side, because what they may have is, oh, here's an incident. And then is there a deployment, or is there anything to indicate that the deployment may have been related to this incident? So sort of look at it from the other angle. So we have similar kind of dashboards and things we're using, but we certainly probably have slightly different requirements. But I'm happy to help find you someone from reliability who can also take part.
Okay, I can also post on, sometimes I just post in the Infrastructure Lounge Slack channel, and there seems to be some good response there. And then I'd love to pencil in like 30 minutes on your calendar in the next week or 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds great.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. And I suppose, selfishly, can we also ask then, what are you hoping to, what does your roadmap look like? What can we hopefully adopt internally?
Yeah, so I think initially we're going to start with just alerts in GitLab. We're still validating, we're kind of using this opportunity to validate the MVC, but long term, we hope to do some machine learning around this data and maybe automate some of the things that you do repetitively, or help you better make decisions. So I did link the direction page. That's the first link in that agenda item. So hopefully that'll kind of give you a little bit more of some of the spoilers coming.
Brilliant. Great. Thanks so much. Looking forward to this.
Thank you. And nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. You too. Jason, you have the next question.
Sure. Just wondering, how goes the investigation into reliable Redis instances in Gates, specifically reliable Redis instances at scale?
Thank you for asking for that. So we don't have Skabak with us today. I will start off, but Henry, Ahmed, I know you've been kind of close to this project as well, so feel free to jump in if there are things that you want to add or correct. But I'll give a kind of overview from where I am so far. So our motivation behind starting to migrate we'll try and do as many of the Redis instances as we can. It's a little bit experimental. So we're starting on rate limiting, which is a relatively straightforward instance compared to some of our sort of slightly more complicated ones. And what we're trying to achieve here is move it into a Kubernetes, it joins a lot of our other services. It will reduce kind of overhead of operating. So yeah, we get sort of lots of benefits there. So that's the kind of behind the scenes of like why we started this work. So it is progressing well. We're taking it a little bit steadier than some of our recent migrations. This is our first stateful migration. So that's new for us. So we're doing a lot more testing around just making sure we understand like how will data behave. We don't want to have any sort of data loss as we go through this. So current status is we have a planned migration path, and we're currently doing some work to figure out how we get host names working with our VMs. So our VMs and our Kubernetes clusters will reference things differently. So figuring out how we can actually make them comparable. So as we do the migration, we'll be running in hybrid for a period, and we need to be able to easily switch between the VMs and the clusters. So that work is ongoing. And we're doing checks around what observability tooling and things like that will we have available for us. We're not too far away. We're probably, I'd say perhaps a couple of weeks from getting to the pre-environment. Once we have this on the pre-environment, we'll be able to test rollbacks, rollouts, and actually see how this starts to perform. Nice.
Right. And context for everybody else why distribution cares. One of the reasons we don't tell customers right now to run the Redis in our Helm chart is because it's a stateful service. And if you don't know what you're doing with a stateful service in Kubernetes, or you don't have solid recommended best practices for people trying to deploy that, they're going to have a bad day. Things are getting better, but at the same time, we generally try not to recommend things to our customers that we ourselves would not actually run. So until we know how it works, we know that it will work, we don't want to recommend it for a reference architecture or a default deployment for the GitLab chart.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and it sort of explains, I suppose, some of the time it takes to do a migration as we experiment with different approaches and figure out what is going to be a safe approach for us and other people to use, and then make the changes necessary to support that. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jason. Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to just verbalize if something comes to mind, or comments for today. No? Okay, so one thing I'll just share, just for sort of general awareness, is one of the projects we've been working on for the last few months is reordering our deployment pipeline. And this is, we have at the moment a little bit of a kind of a risk gap around mixed deployments going to production. And that's based on the fact that not every package that we create for deployment is guaranteed to reach production. So at the moment, with our deployment pipeline, we deploy through our staging environment and our production canary environment, and then we head to production. We've been working for the last few months to bring in a staging canary to give us an extra environment to check. And then we're very close in the next probably the 3-ish weeks following the monthly release and the security release, we will be doing a reorder, which means that deployments will hit the staging canary, and then our production canary, and then our staging environment, and then our production environment. So we're flipping the order of the staging and the production canary. So we've been doing, we've got some extra tests, and it should be a completely transparent switch, but we will be sharing more details as we get closer to making that change. And particularly if people are testing on staging, perhaps what you need to be aware of as you'll now be doing your testing on the staging canary instead. So watch for more announcements around that stuff in the next few weeks. All right, final shout. Are there any final questions anybody would like to ask today?
Sorry, joining late, so you apologize if you may have answered it before. Work with customers. What's the place they should go to look for changes, upcoming changes? If someone, let's say, is in a security role and is only interested in security changes, where do they go? How do they find that information?
For what has for
Right.
security, it will be what has been released. So the security blog post, release blog posts, the change logs will give you the most complete view. And then for all the patch and monthly releases, we have the same. I'm not sure, is there anyone here from product maybe who can say, is there some way you can see what's coming up in the next release?
I'm fairly new here. You know, the place I was previously,
Yes.
they would have an admin portal, and the admin would get notifications of upcoming features, and it was just somewhere they would know to go look at.
Give me a sec. I'm just trying to look it up. But basically,
thanks,
there's a milestone kickoff on the 18th of every month that's live streamed on YouTube. And there is as well, of course, a written list that's auto-generated. I will try to quickly find it and post it in the doc in case I can't find it in a minute.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Victor.
About security specifically, security, like what security patches are coming up?
Like if someone was interested in the DevSecOps and not necessarily the full suite, where would they go to find out upcoming changes specifically for that area that they focus on?
Okay, thanks for
So
the clarification.
similarly, for just like we have one for all of GitLab, each development groups also likely has a kickoff issue and a kickoff video. So if you're interested in, say, SaaS, the SaaS group will create what they're planning to do for the upcoming milestone. I'll find you a link to that too while Victor looks up the other thing.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Great, thanks for asking, Eric. Right, are there any other questions? No, in which case, thanks so much everyone for joining. Thanks for all the questions. And Kevin, thank you so much for writing the notes. Really appreciate that. Have a great day, everyone. We'll speak to you next time.